Please all rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zemplis.
Hello everyone, great crowd. Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Perth March 2023 Ordinary Council meeting. I'll officially declare it open at exactly 5 p.m. Please be advised that the screens are not available during the meeting, but hard copies of the agenda are available in the foyer, and it looks like people have taken the opportunity to avail themselves of those. Can I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people of Western Australia. I acknowledge and pay my respects to elders past and present. It is a privilege to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar land. CEO, can I ask you to recite the prayer, please?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. So we'll start with item 3, which is attendance. And in attendance today we have the Deputy Lord Mayor Liam Gobbett, Councillor Sandy Angie, Councillor Clyde Bevan. Special announcement for Councillor Bevan coming up in just a moment. Councillor Brent Fleeton, Councillor Rebecca Gordon, Councillor Catherine Leeser, and I'm very happy to see Councillor Victor Coe also with us. Now, there are no apologies therefore. Do any other elected members have an application for a leave of absence? There are none that we have on the record.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I'll be away for work Monday 3 April to Friday the 7th of April.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Fleeton, we've recorded that information. Any other elected members? Councillor Gobbett, Deputy Lord Mayor Gobbett.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just noted that you said there was none on the record. I thought I had submitted the 8th to the 12th of May inclusive, but just capture that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll just we'll verify that one. So we'll move those both together then, just to make sure that they are captured. Do we have somebody move a motion to approve the leave of absence? Thank you, Councillor Gordon. A seconder. Any objections? A thirder we got. Wow. No objections? Carried unanimously and approved. None further? Thank you. Item 4, announcements by the Lord Mayor. Got something else? No. Not yet. Item 4 is announcements by the Lord Mayor. I'll go quickly. There are a few, but I'll go very quickly. Firstly, thank you to all of my fellow councillors and to the City of Perth staff who did such a wonderful job with the Freedom of Entry parade for the 10th Light Horse on Saturday. It was so gratifying to see so many people in the city enjoying the parade and the quite historic pageantry that is associated with it, and then to welcome the men and women of the 10th Light Horse for light refreshments back at Council House afterwards was a wonderful, wonderful event to be a part of. So thanks to the CEO and her team, and thank you to my fellow elected members, Councillor Fleeton and Councillor Leeser, for joining me for what was a special occasion. Speaking of special occasions here at the City of Perth, it's been a pleasure to have the Icons of Australia design show on in our foyer as part of Design Week. Ian Wong's show. It was my pleasure, along with the Deputy Lord Mayor, to attend the opening on Friday night. My congratulations again to David Smith and Councillor Sandy Angie on their work with Design Week, and the Icons of Australia show in our foyer has been very popular, and I've noticed many visitors to Council House taking the opportunity to have a look at some of those design icons, which segues nicely into the 13th year of the Boorloo Heritage Festival. For the first time this year, a month-long festival celebrating the heritage of our great city. Actually kicks off tomorrow with an event at Perth City Farm, and then for the month of April proper, from the 1st obviously right through until the end, a total of over 90 events showcasing our city's wonderful heritage, and the City of Perth have been very pleased to be able to help curate this program. You may have seen a lift out in last Friday's newspaper. If you haven't had the opportunity to collect that, I do commend you to the website where each of the events are laid out one by one, and we've had excellent feedback from our community ahead of Booloo Heritage Festival, brought to you by the City of Perth for a 13th year, beginning, as I said, tomorrow, but for the month of April. Our scooter trial is into its second week now. Saturday marked a full week for the trial. It has been a qualified success to date, I'm happy to report. Around, and these are rough numbers, but around 10,000 hires in the first week, and very few incidents or issues have been reported. As I've mentioned many times in this chamber, most feedback comes to the Lord Mayor directly about any range of issues of anything that might be happening, positive or negative, in the city. And I've been pleased to report very few items of correspondence in regards to our scooter trial. Again, we stress it is only a trial, it's safety first, and we have been conservative in our approach, both with speed limits, other regulations, helmets of course required, over 16, and obviously as well as the speed limits where they can and can't be ridden. We're delighted though that Kings Park, separately to the City of Perth, have agreed with the two providers to allow access into the main thoroughfares of Kings Park, and that has added to the accessibility between the city and Kings Park. So early days on the scooter trial, but I'm happy to report it has been very well received by our community thus far, and we will urge everybody to continue to ride cautiously and safely. Over the next couple of days, the CEO and I will be in Canberra for the Council of Capital City Lord Mayors, 2 days of meetings forecast, or scheduled rather, over there, including with the Infrastructure Minister Catherine King, the Environment and Water Minister Tanya Plibersek, and Julie Collins, the Housing and Homelessness Minister, amongst a number of other significant meetings with both ministers and opposition spokespeople. So always a good opportunity not only to be with our fellow mayors from around the country and reps of the administration, but also obviously for those very important political meetings. Normally 2 such occasions like this during the year, and this is the first of them. Sally Capp, the Lord Mayor of Melbourne, has taken over from the Lord Mayor of Perth as the chair for this year. And just finally, I'd like to commend Councillor Clyde Bevan. His work on the Northbridge commemorative plaques has unfolded with great fanfare from the Northbridge community, and they've been very popular. And I hope you do have the opportunity to visit some of the plaques on some of our iconic Perth businesses in the Northbridge area. Councillor Bevan, thank you for your enthusiasm for that project. And with that, can I take the opportunity to wish Councillor Clyde Bevan, from all of us, a very happy birthday. Councillor Bevan, happy birthday. 3 cheers for the good councillor. Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip.
Hooray!
Even the cats were cheering then, Clyde. I could hear them. Magnificent stuff at the City of Perth. Well played. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through that. Item 5, disclosures of interest. And CEO, I'm going to bring you in here, if I may. Any details, the interests which have been disclosed, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The following interests have been disclosed. The Deputy Lord Mayor, Liam Gobbard, has disclosed a proximity and impartiality interest in item 12.1 as 1 Adelaide Terrace and 2 Plain Street directly abuts his residential address, and 69 to 75, 77 to 85, 87 to 93, 95 to 99 Barrack Street were the subject of a development application he determined. He briefly discussed the Liberty Theatre proposal with Mr Humich prior to the DA's submission. Councillor Di Bain has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.2 as there may be people known to her, but given there are more than 3,800 pages, she has diligently scanned for proximity and financial connections but hasn't been able to identify any. Councillor Clyde Bevan has disclosed a proximity interest in item 12.1 as he owns an apartment at 380 Murray Street, Perth. Councillor Darbane has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 15.5 as she is the Chair of Tourism WA, and also Councillor Rebecca Gordon has disclosed an impartiality interest in relation to item 12.1 Local Heritage Survey as she has a property listed on the survey interest in common. I think, Lord Mayor, you may also have an interest to declare this meeting?
I do, for an item which comes up later, and that is I am an employee of 7 West Media, which I believe has an item coming up later tonight. That's item 15.4. That is a direct financial disclosure. I am an employee of 7 West Media. Are there any others? Councillor Angie.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I've got a couple of disclosures as well. Firstly, in relation to the Chamala Park matter, which is under confidential cover, that's a direct financial interest. Satellite Group is involved in Chamala Park. My husband, Michael Angie, is a board member of a Satellite Group entity. And then that was a direct financial interest, and then an indirect financial interest in relation to the new item on the agenda 15.4. And that is via, again, my husband, Michael Angie, who's CEO of APM. APM is a sponsor for the West Australian Leadership Matters Breakfast. They get brand recognition and a table at events, and from time to time get invitations. APM is also a sponsor of the 7 Run Christmas pageant, and they're a client.
Thank you, Councillor Angie.
Advertising client, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further disclosures from anybody? No? Okay, thank you, CEO. If there are no further disclosures, we move to public participation. 6.1 is public question time. The following city officers, that's for me, but good to know that the Acting Community Health Manager is with us tonight. So, item 6.1, public questions. CEO, do we have any tonight?
Yes, Lord Mayor, a series of public questions have been received. Dr. Elizabeth Hatton in relation to matters not on the agenda. Michael John Bamford in relation to item 15.1. Ariadne Bradley, apologies, I've mispronounced that, in relation to item 15.1. David Dyke in relation to item 15.1. Simon Wheeler in relation to item 15.1, Aidan Lang in relation to 15.1, Claire Greenwell in relation to 15.1, Robert Madden in relation to 15.1, Kingsley Dixon in relation to 15.1, Bruce Webber in relation to 15.1, and Katie Madden in relation to 15.1.
Thank you, CEO. So I note for the benefit of everybody in the chamber tonight, typically 15 minutes is allocated for public question time, but we understand there's some interest on one matter in particular from a large cross-section of our community. So what I will remind everybody, if it is at all possible not to repeat points that have previously been made, that would be useful for all of us for time management. And I will remind you all that all questions have a 5-minute limit. But as best you can, if it is possible not to repeat points that have previously been made, that would be useful for us. However, you do have 5 minutes and we welcome you to use it, and I won't be enforcing a 15-minute total time limit. First up is Dr. Elizabeth Hatton. So Dr. Hatton, if you'd like to come forward, please. Your name and address, if you wouldn't mind, and then 5 minutes will be yours. Thank you.
Elizabeth Hatton, Unit 33, Number 2, Sherwood Court. Lawson Apartments, in other words. Given the background briefing email I have submitted to all elected members of Perth City Council, would those elected members be willing to support a meeting of all facility managers for corporate buildings in Sherwood Court to A, reduce the rubbish collections down to a 16-hour time frame, and B, also restrict out-of-door construction or construction-related activity to a same or similar time frame?
Thank you, Dr. Hatton. We appreciate that. What I'd like to suggest here is that we take that on notice, if that's okay, so we can consider all of the information to properly inform ourselves. CEO, just looking to you, if that's...
Yes, please, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hatton. We appreciate you very much being here, and we will, as I said, take that one on notice. Michael John Bamford, I believe, is next up in relation to item 15.1. No, Michael Bamford. Ariadne Bradley in relation to item 15.1. Ariadne, hello.
Hi, Ariane Bradley. Actually.
Ariane, is it?
Silent
Okay.
D, yeah.
There's a D that's found its... Oh, silent D.
Silent D, yeah.
Ariane, name and address if you could, and then 5 minutes will be yours.
Ariane Bradley, Balcatta, but we're part of us, the cat. You know, stand up, guys. The responsible cat. Anyway, can the City of Perth give the community the scientific background of the officers who have stated that they do not recommend establishing a local cat law?
CEO?
I think if we could ask the officers involved.
Thank you.
Through you, Lord Mayor, the officers hold a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Health.
Just the microphone on, please, if you could, Ariane.
Sorry, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, has the same said officers investigated and researched their reasons of stating such facts of not requiring a local cat law?
Through to the acting general manager. Yeah. Oh, okay. Through to the officer responsible.
Through you, Lord Mayor. In order to determine if there was sufficient need under the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries guideline to create a cat local law, officers reviewed the city's records for the number and type of customer requests made relating to cats and sought information about cat numbers from the Botanic Gardens and Parks Authority.
Thanks, Melanie. That's Melanie Watson, Acting Community Health Manager, where these questions are being directed. Ariane.
Have they looked at what other cities and shires are doing regarding to cat containment?
Through you, Lord Mayor. Yes, we have.
Okay. Will the City of Perth be the only city or council who will not push or recommend to the state government to update the Cat Act 2011 as other councils are doing?
Through you, Lord Mayor. The City supports the State Government's review of Western Australia's Cat Act 2011 and recommends any improvements made to the Act rather than through the creation of local laws.
Okay. Have any elected members done their own research into the impacts of roaming domestic cats on wildlife in Australia?
I have. Thank you.
I have actually sent most of the councils.
And you did our work for us. Thank you.
No problem. Thank Aidan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ariane. David Dyke is next. David, welcome. Name and address if you could, David, and then you too will have
Thank you.
your time.
David Dyke. I was the Bayswater Community Senior Citizen of the Year in 2020. My address is Unit 1, Number 8, View Street in Maylands.
David, congratulations on your award from all of us. Well deserved.
Thank you. I have two questions. The first one is, how is the city going to manage roaming cats in many places like East Perth, where I see cats while out recording frogs, if the City of Perth doesn't have a local cat law? Do you want me to go straight into the second?
No, we can answer that now. We're going to take it across again to Melanie Watson, the Acting Community Health Manager. But just before we do, David, did you say catching?
I go out recording frogs for the Australian Museum with the Frog ID app. I've actually recorded 14,000
Yeah, really?
above that.
Is that
So
what-
you can see I have a fair bit of authority.
Oh, no, my word. Is that what you won your award for in 2020?
Not only that, my community activities too. I formed the Barden Park Friends Group.
Oh,
I better not go on about that here.
I was right to say well deserved. Let's take it over to Melanie Watson, Acting Community Health Manager.
Through you, Lord Mayor. The city can already deal with these issues under the Cat Act 2011 if reported as a problem.
David.
Cool, wow. How's that done?
I think we just had the answer then.
I don't think that explains it. However, I'll go into two. How is the City of Perth going to manage cats breeding within your local government boundaries and then the offspring penetrating and invading into neighbouring local government authorities if the city doesn't have a local cat law?
Thanks again, David. Melanie.
Through you, Lord Mayor. The Cat Act 2011 already requires all cats to be registered, and unless exempt, they must be sterilised.
I see when I'm out recording in some of your areas, cats just meandering everywhere. Lord Mayor, can I go through a small experience?
David, we're here for questions, so it does need to be questions, not stories or anecdotes.
It's relevant to this.
Okay, well, you're within your time limit, so if you can keep it to within the 2 minutes that remains, then okay.
Okay. Quickly, I see a lot of young councillors here, which is brilliant. So possibly you're home looking after the kids or in the council here while I'm out recording frogs. And quite often I go down the pathway and there's a scream like this. Ah!
Who's doing that?
That's the noise of a frog.
No, they're not that loud, David.
Halfway
Come on.
down a cat's mouth.
Surely not. They're
It
that
is.
loud?
It's excruciating.
Wow. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, David, that was very colourful. Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you very much. That was David Dyke, everybody. Yes, polite. Simon Wheeler's up next. Simon? Oh, he's not? No, I'm afraid we have been supplied with those, so we won't need them to be read out. They do have to be here to present them. Aidan Lang is here. Aidan, good evening. Also in relation to item 15.1. Councillor Lang, if you could give us your name and address, then away you go.
Yep, thanks for having me back. Aidan Lang, relevant address here is 6 to 10 Duro Place, West Perth. Thanks again for having me back and having an opportunity to speak on this very important environmental issue that most of our neighbouring councils here have already tackled. And congrats on the scooters as well. That's something I hope we can bring to Fremantle soon. And as a side note, Tanya Plibersek, who you're meeting next week, on record, supports local government's efforts to contain cats around Australia. Is the City of Perth aware the Cat Act 2011 does not provide power for the City of Perth to make a local law for the additional control of cats, including cats being confined to premises as stated within Decision 2 on page 150 of your agenda?
Thank you. We'll send that one across to Melanie Watson, Acting Community Health Manager. Melanie.
Through you, Lord Mayor. Section 79(3)(g) of the Cat Act 2011 states, among other things, that a local law may be made requiring that in specified areas a portion of the premises on which a cat is kept must be enclosed in a manner capable of confining cats.
Thank you for your interpretation of that, which many other local governments have tried to use but have been knocked back by the state government. That's actually why we're here this evening. Second question is, can the item be amended to reflect the error above? But if that's your interpretation, I guess that's open to your governance team. That's my question. I don't know if you want to answer that one.
I think you've answered it, but Melanie?
Yep.
There's no further response to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lord Mayor, just a couple of quick ones, yes, no ones, I guess. Do you acknowledge that a single cat in an A-class reserve can have a devastating impact on wildlife?
Is this a direct question to me?
Yeah,
Okay.
special one.
I am still in the deliberative phase at the moment. I'm taking it all in.
Okay, I accept that. Does the Lord Mayor acknowledge we should be keeping all cats out of A-class reserves? As we've done on Rottnest Island, we've taken all cats off that A-class reserve. Kings Park, however, the state government won't give local government the authority to enforce permanent cat containment to protect wildlife.
I spoke to the minister several times on this subject. What I am prepared to say is that I'm satisfied that the review of the Cat Act 2011, which is going to take place, is going to give us sufficient understanding and confidence that the right elements of the Act will be in place.
That's actually really positive. Thank you for being proactive in that space, Lord Mayor.
Well, it's the sort of Lord Mayor I try to be, Councillor.
And it kind of leads on to my next question. As one of your engaged ratepayers who wants to see a better city of Perth, you do seem to have a great relationship with John Carey. We can't get a reply in an email from him or even a coffee after 2 years of trying to meet the guy.
Well, not the 2-year thing again, Councillor Fleeton. Remember last time. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
As you touched on, he seems interested in a review in 2024, which will see any meaningful change. It will see WA lagging the rest of Australia until 2030. Now, we are that far behind in this space. So on behalf of local government, will the Lord Mayor write to the Minister for Local Government requesting an amendment to the Cat Act to be done in parallel to the review? The amendment can be done inside 12 months. The review will see change happen in 2030. So that Western Australia's local governments, us, have the ability to enforce permanent cat containment and have the ability to protect A-class reserves in their district, such as Kings Park.
Councillor Lang, I appreciate you've probably been busy at times over the last 2.5 years with matters in Fremantle, and that's understandable. As a dutiful councillor, of course, that would be the focus of your attention. But I have nothing but great respect and admiration for the state government of Western Australia. We work very closely together, and I have great confidence that the review of the Cat Act in 2011 will deliver for all West Australians what we need to have delivered. And so in the Minister, I've got nothing but great confidence and admiration that the job will get done.
In 2030. Thank you. My last question is, given the large number of questions that we've seen this evening, including those from the founding Director of Science at Kings Park, who shares his experience of trapping cats, the irrefutable evidence presented by the online questions and those in public, will any elected member consider deferring this item to the next appropriate council meeting to allow time for officers to reconsider the motion in the context of public questions in a bid to help Australian wildlife?
Well, perhaps I'll answer that question by saying when item 15.1 comes up, we will, every council will have the opportunity to deal with it as they see fit. So that opportunity will present soon enough.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Councillor, thank you. It's been a pleasure to get to know you in this chamber, albeit from a distance. Claire Greenwell is next up. Claire? Is Claire with us? Okay, but we do have a record of questions that have been asked by Claire. Robert Madden. Is Robert with us?
Yes.
Hi, Robert.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
You're welcome. Name and address if you could, Robert.
Dr. Robert Madden, 3A Sykes Avenue, Innaloo. At risk of repeating a previous question, given that there are no local cat laws for the Kings Park area, it is easy to recognise that there is no apparent framework within which cat-related problems can be readily reported, Essentially, who is going to report a cat doing what a cat is currently legally allowed to do? I personally have seen cats at night in Kings Park on multiple occasions and know that the officer's report of a single cat being caught or reported is insufficient. And so therefore I ask the Lord Mayor, how does the City of Perth propose to ensure the safety of native wildlife within Kings Park when there are currently no measures to stop or control the ingress of roaming or stray cats into Kings Park from within your local government boundaries?
Thank you. Seemed a two-part question there, Mr. Madden. Was there anything that Melanie, Acting Community Health Manager, you wanted to respond to?
Through you, Lord Mayor. The management of Kings Park is the responsibility of the Botanic Gardens Parks Authority. The city officers have discussed the matter with the authority, and the feedback on their monitoring was detection of 1 cat per year on average.
If I can be afforded a follow-up question, how was that monitoring of that single cat conducted? Was that visual? Was that camera trap? Was that a scat survey?
Acting Community Health Manager, you may or may not have that information, although I note it's the Kings Park Board that are doing it, so that's information for them to give you, really. I can tell you, though, that I lived for 20 years in Mount Street, just down from Kings Park. I cannot remember in 20 years seeing a cat. Did you ever hear a scream like certainly not like that one, Councillor Fleet, no. But the questions are not coming from fellow councillors at this point. But
On notice?
the count, well, on notice, or that's information that Kings Park.
Yes, if we could actually inquire with Kings Park and find out
That
more
would be
information.
appreciated.
So we're prepared to do that. That's nice.
Yes.
We're nice people here. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Dr. Madden. Yes, thank you, Dr. Madden. Is Kingsley Dixon in the room? So we'll move on to Bruce Webber. Katie Madden.
Thank you. Good evening, Lord Mayor and councillors. Katie Madden, 3A Sykes Avenue, Inaloo.
Thanks, Katie.
Upon making the decision to not establish a local cat law, did the City of Perth make any attempt to proactively research and survey cat activity or properly assess the number of roaming cats in the area using methods like camera traps, GPS data loggers, etc., to more accurately determine the actual threat to wildlife in all council-managed areas? Or did they purely make the decision short-sightedly by only relying on unsubstantive information from cat-related complaints?
Thank you, Katie. I'll throw that across to the Acting Community Health Manager.
Through you, Lord Mayor. From the information available to the city, including 2 cat complaints in 3 years, the feedback from the Botanic Gardens Parks Authority, it has been concluded that there is not a sufficient need to create a cat local law at this stage.
Okay. And second question, whilst the city does not manage Kings Park, does the City of Perth truly believe it cannot be held accountable for wildlife deaths by allowing cats from the city to freely roam there?
Through you, Lord Mayor. The management of Kings Park is the responsibility of the Botanic Gardens Parks Authority. The city's officers have discussed the matter with the authority, and the feedback on their monitoring was detection of 1 cat per year on average.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie. Much appreciated. So thank you to all of the people that presented tonight. Dr. Hatton on a separate subject, and to all of the people who've asked questions in relation to item 15.1. We greatly appreciate you being here and being part of the process. So we will move our way now to item number 7, which is the confirmation of minutes. And I'm going to ask my fellow councillors if somebody would please move a motion to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting. Oh, yes, Councillor Angie.
I had a question on the minutes. If you want to move it first before I ask the question. Or?
Yeah, so could I ask firstly for somebody to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting as a true and accurate record? Thank you, Councillor Bevan. A seconder, Deputy Lord Mayor. Now, is that unopposed? Are we all in favour?
No, I had a question.
Now you've got a question. Okay, Councillor Angie.
So in the last council meeting, I asked a question, and that was to provide context. I asked for a list of all of the grants and sponsorships and the amounts, and that was provided to us in the elected member question register as an annexure, but I noticed that annexure is not in the minutes. So while the other questions are recorded in the minutes, the answer to my question was not in the minutes. I think it's useful information for the public to have that list of all the. Could that be included?
Yeah, it is very useful information. It's a list that I've referred to several times since. Governance?
Through you, Lord Mayor, yes, we can amend the minutes to capture that.
Okay. So with that, if the motion is unopposed, all those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thanks, Councillor Angie. Question 8, questions by members which due notice has been given. None tonight. Item 9 is correspondence. There's no correspondence received, and 10 is petitions. We don't have any petitions. So we're going to move on to the reports, but the following items have been identified to be moved on block. That's as captured there. So 14.1 monthly financial statements January 2023. 14.2 is the schedule of accounts paid January 2023. 16.1 internal audit report compliance audit return for 2022. And 16.2 internal audit report owners and occupiers electoral roll. 16.3 is the risk management policy 2023 review, and 16.4 is progress on financial year 2022-2023 audit plan. 16.5 is the work, health and safety strategic report January 2023. 16.6 work, health and safety LGIS Tier 3 WorkSafe Plan Safety Assessment Report, and 18.1 is Tamala Park Regional Council proposed amendments to establishment agreement. Do any elected members wish to extract any of the items that I've just listed from the en bloc motion? Councillor Angie.
Just to extract Tamala Park, because I declared an interest, so I can't.
18.1, yep. So 18.1 comes out. So other than 18.1, any others from anybody? So I'll now move a motion that those items other than 18.1 be dealt with en bloc. Can I get a seconder for the motion? Thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor. Do any members oppose this motion? The motion being unopposed, I'll declare it carried unanimously. The recommendations of those items have now been passed en bloc in accordance with clause 9.2 of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law 2009, and the officer and or committee recommendations have been adopted by council. So we're now moving on to reports extracted for debate. Item 11, Planning and Economic Development Alliance reports. There are none here. 12, Community Development Alliance reports. 12.1 is the Local Heritage Survey. So I'm going to ask, Councillor Gordon has an impartiality declaration here. Councillor Bain. We'll handle that up here, Councillor Bain. Councillor Bain, impartiality interest. Deputy Lord Mayor Gobbett, impartiality and proximity interest. And Councillor Bevan, proximity interest. Yeah, so DLM and Councillor Bevan. Thank you. So 12.1, I'm going to ask for a mover. Thank you, Councillor Leeser, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Leeser.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's very pleasing to see such a large body of work in the heritage space. Cultural heritage belongs to us all. The details of each of the properties that are so important to capture in such records as this heritage survey. Because when a property is gone or it's developed, the record is all that's left for future generations. So as a member of the Heritage Council, I suspect I've got a lot of work ahead of us, but I commend this item to my fellow councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Leeser. Now that was seconded by Councillor Gordon.
That was seconded by me, Lord Mayor. I'd support Councillor Leeser's words. I note that the intention of the local heritage survey is to identify and record places that are or may become of cultural heritage significance in the district. I believe our officers have attended to that with quite an expansive survey. And the guidelines published by the Heritage Council state that the inclusion or exclusion of places in the local heritage survey should be on the basis of cultural heritage significance. Objections unrelated to heritage significance should not be entertained as a reason for exclusion or removal of a place from the heritage survey. So I support the officer's recommendation as it stands.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. I now would like to note, for everyone to note, I've proposed an amendment to the officer's recommendation, and this has been circulated to elected members via email. There are hard copies on your desks for consideration. So I'm going to move that, obviously my amendment, and I am looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. My reasons for the amendment. Okay, stand by. It was circulated also, Councillor Angie, so appreciate you being very busy this week, but did come out in email form as well last week.
Lord Mayor, can I ask a question? On our forms, it's saying alternate motion, not amendment.
Right. That's a typo there. So the correct terminology is amendment. Yeah. So it's amendment. Yeah. Just wait for Councillor Angie. How's everyone going? Good. Great. No, Councillor Angie, so I'd said that it had been circulated. Councillor Angie hadn't read it, hadn't seen it. Now, you happy now, Councillor Angie? Yep, okay. So, again, there is the amendment to the officer's recommendation. It's been seconded by Councillor Fleeton. And so my amendment is that Council adopts the local heritage survey as provided in attachments 12.1b through to 12.1e, subject to the exclusion of the properties which are listed in the amendment. And I'm satisfied that everybody, my fellow councillors, have had a chance to see that list. Okay, yeah. So my reasons, look, the Heritage Survey, although confusing because of its name, is, as we heard many times in this chamber last week, only a survey. It's a database, if you like, or a place of record. And accordingly, after asking many questions of our administration last week, and given the objections from those representing the property owners of the properties mentioned to being on the database, I'm satisfied that taking them off will not negatively impact the heritage of our city, noting that there are further opportunities for that information to be captured in follow-up processes. Councillor Fleeton. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against?
Lord Mayor, can I ask a question?
Certainly, Councillor Bain.
What made you choose those properties? Like, I think you've said these are the people that reached out to you, but what makes you think that there's not more that just don't know about it, that overlooking.
So my thought process there. Thank you for the question, Councillor Bain. We know that it had been a very thorough process. I had been in contact with members of the community as I am. Well, I've received the emails and questions and all of the like, as many of my fellow councillors did also. So I was satisfied that there was a good deal of awareness about this process running, and that there was adequate time and opportunity for people to contact us. So I was satisfied on that score. That's how I saw it, but perhaps some further explanation from the administration?
Could I invite Rebecca Taylor, Alliance Manager Arts and Culture, maybe to take us through the process of consultation?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor. The process started back in sort of 2020, 2021, and the community were invited to engagement sessions to discuss the local heritage survey and to submit properties for the local heritage survey. After the process of reviewing and doing the assessment, all property owners were notified via individual letter. They were also communicated via Engage Perth and given a time frame from approximately August to end of November last year to submit a formal comment should they wish to. The properties reflected on the list provided a formal comment in the form of an objection to inclusion. There were some inquiries relating to the local heritage survey. However, these did not result in a formal written submission to us.
Thank you. For or against?
Just a question.
Question, Councillor Reggie.
I actually had the same question as Councillor Bain, how that list was determined, but I guess we've been given the explanation that everyone received a letter and was advised of Engage Perth, but how do we know that everyone actually received and read that letter and aware that that process was going on? Because there may be other people who did not. I'm concerned that it's equitable.
That's a question for the administration or a question for me? My answer would be, well, we can never be certain, can we? But administration?
No, so I guess the question is, we sent a letter, but, you know, were people required to respond that they'd received the letter? How can we be certain that the letter ended up in the right hands and that everyone knew that this process was happening?
To the officer?
Through you, Lord Mayor. Approximately 849 letters were issued in relation to the local heritage survey. We did get some letters returned, and when those letters were returned due to a wrong address or someone moved on, we endeavoured to find out, we obviously notify the new owners and so forth. Given the volume of letters that were issued, we couldn't possibly track every individual receipt of every individual letter, but we did have many sort of page views on Engage Perth, so we know that there were hundreds of people who engaged with that information as well.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions, or would anybody like to speak for or against?
I'll speak for your motion, Lord Mayor. I would have preferred to remove all category 3 or C. I lost track of which the correct terminology was, because I just don't see the value for ratepayers in including those. But this list as it is here, these people have got a property and they've been in contact with us to make a case that it doesn't warrant it. Overall, I am very concerned about how much money ratepayers have had to spend on this, and I don't understand what happens after this motion's passed in terms of its usability or utility. Where is it used to show places of significance unless a person logs onto a list and reads 3,000 pages of PDFs? I don't understand how that's a good use of funds. I am concerned in the response to the officer's comment saying the removal of these properties from inclusion in the updated local heritage survey does not imply they will be excluded from any future consideration under our planning or heritage legislation. So the first answer is, just because you're on the list doesn't mean anything happens, but also if you're off the list, you still could potentially find yourself on it later. I appreciate the work is mandated by the state to the local government to do it. They don't provide any funding for it. Think of what that $100,000 in consultation and the 2 years of the staff, well done on a job extremely well done. You had to do it, but imagine what we could have achieved in this heritage space if we could have done something more meaningful. But Lord Mayor, we have to do this, so yours is the best outcome.
Thanks, Councillor Fleet. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Gordon?
I'll speak against the amendment, Lord Mayor.
Sure.
For reasons stated previously, we are doing this to adhere to a legislative requirement. So to do so to 99.9% of what's required, to me, is just an erroneous move. We are carving out properties that should be on the list. And I think we've seen objections from two major groups, people that don't want to be captured on the full state heritage list and people that don't see heritage value in their property at all. And I think that's the controversial space because, you know, they're concerned of what does this mean next. But what this means is that those properties should be on that list. The guidance from state government is that property owners should be advised, they should be invited to participate, and the assessment of their place should not be conditional on owner support. So I prefer the officer's recommendation. I think it's complete. I think we've spent a lot of money. Let's make sure that we don't have to do it again for the longest possible period. And to do that, I think we need to capture things that are of emerging heritage as well as longer term.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for the amendment, or against? Councillor Angie.
I'll also speak against. I concur with the comments made by Councillor Gordon. We're doing this to adhere to legislation. As we've heard, it was a thorough and exhaustive process by the administration, so I'm loath to depart from their recommendation. We can't just cherry pick out certain properties in an ad hoc manner when we can't be certain that everyone received the letter and that everyone gave the matter due consideration. So I'm against the amendment.
Thanks, Councillor Angie. Anyone else for or against? I'll just close by saying again, it is just a database, and as we heard in the chamber last week, being on the database won't have any bearing with any certainty one way or the other in regards to the heritage treatment of that property, and therefore I am asking my fellow councillors to support the notice of all the amendment to this motion. So I will put the amendment to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Leeser, the Lord Mayor and Councillor Fleeton. And those against? Councillor Angie, Councillor Bain and Councillor Gordon. The Lord Mayor has the deciding vote and votes in favour of the amendment. So we'll return now to the substantive motion as amended. And that was moved by Councillor Leeser, who has spoken. Councillor Gordon has also spoken. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Leeser. So we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. We go now to item 12.2, the events plan. And we'll invite the Deputy Lord Mayor and the birthday boy back into the chamber. So item 12.2, Events Plan 2023-2024. Please note there is an amended officer's recommendation, and this has been circulated to elected members via email, and there are hard copies on your desk for consideration.
Happy to move that, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor, and welcome back. We missed you. Seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The commitment of $5.4 million to support events, together with other sponsorship and grants programs, represents a total commitment of over $10 million to support projects and programs that benefit our community. We've listened to what the community want, what businesses want, what residents want, and this delivers that. The direct economic impact of this funding might not necessarily be known for a while after the program concludes, but having personally been to these events over the last year, the Christmas lights, the City of Light shows, Australia Day, New Year's Eve, the Nativity, the neighbourhood events, Lunar New Year, Boorloo Heritage, currently underway, and so many more events throughout the year, I'm confident from having seen these with my own eyes that it's the right mix to activate our city. So just a congratulations to the admin team for working so constructively to balance the expectations of all of those stakeholders to put this list together, and I'm sure we'll no doubt see another great year of activating our city.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. It was seconded by Councillor Fleeton. Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Angie, speaking against?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I'm speaking against the officer's recommendation for several reasons. Firstly, in my view, this doesn't represent value for money for our ratepayers. The $5.4 million investment plus staff time and cost, which is not accounted for in the information provided, is to attract approximately 500,000 people to our city. I've spoken on this matter a number of times. When we first started, I did my own analysis of how effective sponsorship was in drawing people to our city. So just by way of comparison, via sponsorship of Fringe Festival and Perth Festival for approximately $400,000 each, we get more people into the city. Each of these events drawing crowds of hundreds of thousands of people. I understand Fringe Festival 2023 achieved ticketed attendance of around 300,000, and when you combine free and ticketed attendance, it was more than 600,000 people. So that's for a city investment of 400,000, 600,000 people. Meanwhile, Adelaide Fringe sold 1 million tickets, so something to strive for. So very simply, via sponsorship, we can attract in excess of 500,000 people for an investment of less than 1 million. By supporting others, and by doing it ourselves, it costs 5 times as much to draw the same crowd. But for me, it's more than that. These festivals and others build the cultural identity of our city and provide work for artists and Perth's creative community. I get it that we're filling the gaps and Christmas is important, but I strongly believe that we get better value for money through sponsorship. Can we make our Fringe Festival catch up to Adelaide, or what's the next Fringe Festival? So that's the first reason. There's another couple of reasons as well, just briefly, and I don't feel like our council has addressed the question of Australia Day and what we want to do on Australia Day. And thirdly, I don't feel like I've had sufficient debrief on Australia Day this year. That's just my personal view.
Thank you, Councillor Angie. Does anyone else wish to speak for or against?
Thanks, Lord Mayor, if that's all right.
Yes, okay. Yes.
Taking the wind out of your
I was going to speak for, but...
no, that's fine. I'll speak for it.
Yeah.
Just on the parking aspect. So one thing I looked at over the last year of results was the uptick in parking when there was an event on that we had either put on or sponsored. So it's an incredibly important subsidy to all ratepayers that we have a consistent stream of people coming into the city for many reasons, one of which being parking. I heard what Councillor Angie said. It would be great if there was a festival or idea that was sitting there going unfunded. I don't see that right now. I don't see someone that has come to us and said, can we have 2 million because this is a great idea to guarantee a set number of people coming in. I think this strategy is right in that it provides a backbone through the year, and it also allocates $5 million for sponsorship for other events to be put on by a third party. I don't believe in over-capitalising with Perth Festival or the Fringe Festival. I think they play a very important part in the calendar, but if we were to provide them, say, and I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth, I'm saying if we were to give them an extra $1 million each, I don't believe I've seen modelling to suggest that that would provide the city or ratepayers with an uptick. So I understand where Councillor Angie's coming from, but I think what's in front of us now needs to be approved now, because if it's not, the next financial year of events and what's been proposed would be seriously derailed. So providing certainty to the people that we engage for our own events and also the people that are asking for sponsorship. I think we've had a discussion since we've been elected on this, and I think this strikes the right balance.
Very much, Councillor Fleet. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against or for? I'll take the opportunity to speak for. It is my view that the events that the city helps put on, but also supports, is entirely within the remit for what our local council, and in particular the City of Perth as the capital city of the state of Western Australia, there is an expectation that we will help provide and assist with these events. And by all means, Fringe and the Perth Festival are wonderful events, but they are very well supported by others in the community, including, of course, Lottery West most generously via the state government, or the other way around. So we assist because those events exist. But the Christmas Lights Trail does not exist. Nobody else is doing the other events, for example, our summer calendar of events that happened this year at either Langley Park or down at Elizabeth Quay. And the other events that we also put on, as Councillor Angie correctly pointed out, some of them filling gaps, there is an expectation on our council that we will put on events that people can come and enjoy. We are a capital city. $5.4 million goes towards us being the big events capital city, and $10 million into the community, as the Deputy Lord Mayor so well pointed out, is part of the expectation, part of the reason this city exists. And therefore, I am entirely in favour of what we have before us. I think it is a sensible allocation of our resources to ensure that our capital city remains a capital city that is vibrant, attractive and resonates with everyone in not only our community but the greater Perth community, throughout Western Australia, and indeed for those who come and visit our city. And for what it's worth, it's what happens in all of the other cities that I visited as well. They put on big events because they want people to come into their city and see their city shine. And I couldn't be prouder of the City of Light events and the entire calendar of events that we've either supported or indeed put on ourselves. I think we've done a great job. Is there anyone else for or against? Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to speak for the events plan and just congratulate the team at the City of Perth for putting together what I think is strikes the right balance. Obviously, local governments should put on civic events and they should create entertainment activity and activation in their areas, and the City of Perth, being a capital city, can just take it up a little bit of an extra notch. I think it's great that you've acknowledged that there are other people with even deeper pockets, such as the state government, that will put large amounts of investments in events in and around this city, and to leverage off those is really critical because the city just doesn't have the budget to do that. In relation to Fringe, I noticed that the Adelaide state government just invested $2 million to boost Fringe, unless the City of Perth wants to own that event, and unless it's got $2 million, it might want to consider that. But just supporting it, I think the city needs events. As we've emerged out of COVID, we need to kind of bring the city back to life and transform its reputation through activation, and important things like Christmas Lights Trail are really coming into their own. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. For and against opportunities? And this was moved by the Deputy Lord Mayor. Deputy Lord Mayor. Nothing further, thank you. Just before we put this to the vote, to inform the chamber that Councillor Coe, Dr. Councillor Coe, has had to leave. He's attending to a medical emergency of some sort, we understand. So we'll put this one now to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Leeser, the Deputy Lord Mayor, the Lord Mayor, Councillor Bain, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Gordon, Councillor Fleeton, and those against? Councillor Angie. Thanks, everyone. We move now to item 14. There are none under 13. 14 is Corporate Services Alliance reports. 14.1, the monthly financial statements, January 23, is on block. As is 14.2, the schedule of accounts paid, January 2023, also on block. 15 is the Chief Executive Officer reports. 15.1, the consideration of decisions from the annual general meeting of electors. So please be advised there is an amended officer's recommendation as noted under further information. Would anybody like to move that officer's recommendation?
Bit of move, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. That is noted under further information in the agenda. Just give you all a moment to make sure that you have visibility of that. Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. So it's been moved by the Deputy Lord Mayor. Do we have a seconder? Okay, no, fine. Thanks, Councillor Fleeton. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The Minister for Local Government has commented publicly that a review of the CAT Act is scheduled for next year. We don't have any of the detail for that as yet on what the powers it could confer or remove from local government or indeed any other authority. The local law process is protracted, that is to commence one, so by the time any investigation, drafting, advertising is done, we're likely to know what we can and cannot do at our local level of government after the reforms are introduced or not. Put simply, the elector's motion is jumping the gun. With regards to investigating methods for keeping domestic cats away from Kings Park, the Kings Park Botanic Gardens Authority, as we've heard, manages that land, not the city. It can only be left to the relevant authority to manage that land, and we shouldn't be duplicating this effort that is captured by state legislation. Since the inquiry into the City of Perth, we have gone through an extensive process through the Policy and Legislation Committee to update our own council policies and to set a program of local law redrafting and review. The council has already allocated resources to this, and as I mentioned before,
Maybe could you just lean over and perhaps use Councillor Angie's? Yeah. Clever. Only the DLM would have known to do that. Or would you have known as well? Oh, so you would have known as well. DLM.
thank you, just a sec, I'll find my spots.
Certainly.
As I was saying, the council has already allocated resources to this, and as I mentioned before, it's a long and protracted process. Why would we allocate further internal resources when there is known uncertainty about what the estate reforms will be? I don't think that's financially responsible. I don't think that's good governance to amend the review process we have already commenced. From my experience in local government going back to 2009, when the City of Joondalup made attempts to introduce a cat local law, it was later disallowed by the Joint Standing Committee on Delegated Legislation because of the impending introduction of the CAT Act. That in itself is a major red flag to me, and again, why would we commence a process when the Joint Standing Committee on Delegated Legislation has that history of disallowing local laws when the state is undertaking its own process? Lord Mayor, councillors, it is for that reason that I cannot support the motion as it's contained in the AGM of electors. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor. That was seconded by Councillor Fleeton.
And am I right in saying we're doing this in its entirety? We're not just talking about the CAT Act here, it's all the motions from the
Just
AGM.
let me confirm that. That's
Sure.
my understanding. That's correct, is it? In its entirety? In its
Thank you.
entirety.
So
Thank you.
my comments will be restricted to my favourite topic, Lord Mayor, of parking. So decision 3, we're not approving changing overnight or weekend parking restrictions, but we are approving the city to commence engagement. So this particular part of the world obviously is right next to the hospital, it's right next to Winthrop Ave, it's right next to Stirling Highway. With all of the development going on in the western suburbs right now, it is increasingly busy, it's increasingly used for various forms. So I'm very happy to see this engagement happen, although I think it needs to also be broadened to include the hospital and the state to see what long-term changes they might be making to the road network in that area, particularly Broadway being our boundary, what parking changes might be made there. So this issue is going to get worse. It's not just going to be constrained to the residents in that particular block of Nedlands. It will come down to Crawley, and it's something that we'll need to address ourselves. So looking forward to seeing the outcome of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Lord Mayor.
Don't wish to close. Let's put that to the vote then. Oh, wait.
Can I move a motion to defer?
Point of order, Lord Mayor, I've already moved not to close.
Yeah, there was opportunity. I did ask anyone else for or against. I'm satisfied that everybody was given sufficient time. Yep. Deputy Lord Mayor, nothing? No, we'll put this to the vote then. All those in favour? That's Councillor Leeser, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Bain, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Gordon and Councillor Fleeton. Anyone against? Councillor Angie, thank you. So we move to item 15.2, the appointment of Western Australian Electoral Commission to conduct the City of Perth 2023 ordinary election. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation? I'll just take this opportunity to thank our guests here tonight and thank you for the engagement in our process. We do appreciate you being here and thank you for engaging with us. It is part of the healthy democracy that is the City of Perth and, of course, the wider community. So thank you again. Again,
I'll move 15.2.
thank you. Thank you. Oh, we're nice people in here, Councillor Fleeton. I would like to acknowledge our guests when they visit. Thank you, Councillor Fleeton, who's moved that. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Fleeton, Gordon. Anyone else for or against? Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's been carried unanimously. Item 15.3, New Council Policy 2.17. Please be advised that this includes a revocation motion in accordance with sub-regulation 10.1A of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996. At least 3 elected members, inclusive of the mover, must sign this motion to revoke a previous decision of council. So will each councillor voting for the resolution ensure that they sign the motion at the conclusion of the meeting? So I am going to move the officer's recommendation. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. There's nothing from me. Councillor Fleeton. Okay. Nothing further from me. We will put this to the vote then. All those in favour? There is something from you, Councillor Gordon, is there?
I did ask a question last week about drafting an alternate, which removes the ability for the council to approve the payment of funds and then at a later date basically overturn that decision and require an elected member to return the funds that they have expended on the representation that the council would fund them. So I was just wondering if that alternate was drafted.
To governance.
Through you, Lord Mayor. I did leave a telephone message with you on the 22nd and didn't receive a response.
Currently working 13 hours a day. I don't have time to respond. So the question was put, so the outcome was what? No, that it's not being drafted.
Did you get an alternate? Through you, Lord Mayor.
Yes.
No, I just left a message to see if you were still interested in me one, so unfortunately we didn't draft one.
Okay, can I ask another question regarding the policy and if there's any restriction on allowing 2 elected members from both getting legal costs when they're pursuing one another?
Okay. CEO?
If I could invite Peter Mabbs, the Executive Director, Governance and Strategy, to answer these questions. Thank you.
Matter for council to consider when it considered an application. So it would consider the merits of the case put forward, would obviously have to consider the particulars of that particular situation, so be unusual.
So that means it could happen or it could not happen, is that right?
That's correct, and it would really depend upon the circumstances.
Okay.
So my preference would be to work through those issues, so I'd like to defer this item so that we can have an engagement session on it.
Right, so we would need a seconder for that. Councillor Angie, thank you. So we put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Angie, Councillor Bain and Councillor Gordon. Those against is... Sure. So, sorry, that's... You're voting where? Sorry, with the first group or the second group? Okay, so Councillor Leeser, Councillor Angie. Could have those hands up again, please. Councillor Bain and Councillor Gordon. Those against? Deputy Lord Mayor, the Lord Mayor, Councillor Bevan and Councillor Fleeton. Lord Mayor uses his casting vote to vote against. So we now return back to the officer's recommendation. Who's voting? Are we now voting on that? Yes, and so we're now voting on the officer's recommendation. All those in favour? That's Councillor Leeser, the Deputy Lord Mayor, the Lord Mayor, Councillor Bain, Councillor Bevan and Councillor Fleeton. And those against, Councillor Angie and Councillor Gordon. Thank you. So we move now to item 16, the committee reports, Audit and Risk Committee. 16.1, Internal Audit Report, Compliance Audit Return for 2022. We note this is on block. 16.2 is Internal Audit Report, Owners and Occupiers Electoral Roll, also on block. 16.3, Risk Management Policy 2023 Review on block. 16.4, Progress on Financial Year 2022-23 Audit Plan on block. 16.5, Work Health and Safety Strategic Report for January 2023 on block. 16.6, WAHS LGIS Tier 3 Work Safe Plan Safety Assessment Report on block. Item 17, the following motion has been received. 17.1, Councillor Fleeton has submitted a notice of motion regarding tree pruning. Councillor Fleeton, can you please move your motion and please reserve your reasons until the motion is open for debate. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Deputy Lord.
Seconder before it's even been read. It's a great motion, Lord Mayor. I'll go through it now. That Council requests the Chief Executive Officer to present a report to an EMES before the end of 2023, which outlines possible mechanisms that Council may consider adopting to manage public requests for pruning trees on Council land. The report is encouraged to consider matters such as what other councils do to manage such requests, what City of Perth Council and or administrative policies would need altering to allow for such works, implementing cost sharing or recovery arrangements with those parties who request pruning, how to judge requests and any other relevant matters to help Council make an informed decision, including overall cost to administer.
Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. I'm anticipating the Deputy Lord Mayor had read that prior, and we know he's seconding.
Thank you. I'll give my reasons if I can.
Thank you, Councillor
Thank you. Since our election to Council, I've seen many requests made of the City to prune public trees. I have seen a few cases where the City has indeed agreed to prune, but the vast majority have been rejected with differing reasons. It seems to me, after observing this communication back to residents after requests are made, there is no council-endorsed nor well understood publicly available policy or process which equitably manages this situation. I do appreciate every tree has value and contributes to our parks and streets. Perth would be a horrible city without trees. My neighbourhood of Crawley is well protected from searing heat and high winds thanks to our local tree canopy. They are financially valuable too as an asset which the ratepayer owns. To prune them must be done carefully so as to not structurally damage or kill the tree. This is only common sense. But I also appreciate that some trees have branches which are damaging and inconvenient to our residents. We are here to serve their interests. That's why I'm asking for elected member support to see if we can create a system which carefully manages this delicate situation better than what is happening right now. I know that there are many things to consider, which is what this motion asks for, both time and research to work out what is possible.
Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think the administration's position is probably largely captured on page 260 of the agenda, but happy to see what else comes back.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Gordon.
I'd like to speak for Councillor Fleeton's motion. I think it's an appropriate way of addressing a concern that the councillor has within the organisation and across the city. We're taking a strategic viewpoint on this subject. The council that I was formerly at had a mechanism in place whereby if a ratepayer was aggrieved by a tree-related matter, they could engage, and I believe it was something like unanimous endorsement from the 2 ward councillors and the mayor at that city. So obviously that mechanism would not be directly applicable here, but there was a clear mechanism in place that they could go to get action where they were not otherwise getting it. I think the notes from the administration, there's some really good feedback there that I wasn't previously privy to, but perhaps as a result of this, we are putting more of that information into the public realm. But also, first part of the motion is to consider what that mechanism might look like. So I look forward to an engagement session to discuss.
Thanks, Councillor Gordon. I'm going to speak against the motion. I am satisfied that our Parks and Gardens team are doing a great deal of carefully considered work, and the significance of our tree canopy and the retention of the tree canopy has never been more important. I think everyone in this chamber and indeed in our community is well aware of those conversations. I'm also satisfied and in fact delighted that the system that we have in place here for ratepayers being able to contact elected members and for us to be able to feed that information into the administration via the very, very effective chief.executive method is one that allows us to be the conduit between the community and the administration as precisely has been intended for local government elected members. So for that reason, with the significance of our tree canopy retention and knowing how much careful consideration goes into the work that they do from our very, very effective Parks and Gardens team, I'm going to speak against Councillor Fleeton's motion. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Angie.
It's just to go to an engagement session. I think it's useful to know what other councils do as set out in the request, so I'm happy to see this go to engagement session.
Thanks, Councillor Angie, appreciate that. Anyone else for or against? Councillor Fleeton.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want to reiterate there is a balance to be struck that in responses that I have seen is not there at the moment. So I understand tree canopy is the ultimate reason as detailed in your response, but also the city's position. What's not clear to me right now is the ability to understand what weighting the city puts to the residents' request. So I think taking the time to understand different systems might be beneficial. We may actually end up with where we are right now, but we haven't done any research to understand what other councils do in this instance. And I am not suggesting for a moment that we do have a voting system of elected members. I would much prefer to see something that's more considered, and we are not talking about removing entire trees here. This is to better balance what we've got right now, and all this is asking for is time to figure that out.
Thanks, Councillor Fleeton. So let's put this one to the vote then. All those in favour? That's Councillor Angie, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Bain, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Gordon, Councillor Fleeton, and those against, I've got Councillor Angie, yeah, and those against Councillor Leeser and the Lord Mayor. We go now to item 18. This is matters for which the meeting may be closed. And we'll now move behind closed doors to consider confidential items 18.1 and 18.2 in accordance with sections 5.232D and 5.232E of the Local Government Act 1995. The live stream will now be, or will at that point be paused. Can I move a motion to close the meeting to public? And a second to thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. So I will now ask that the public gallery vacate the chamber and for the live stream to be paused. Thank you very much, everyone. Microphone's live. Well, after review, CEO. So we move now to item 19, urgent business, and the following items have been consented to being raised in accordance with clause 4.14 of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law. 15.4 is a request for support for an event that falls outside of grant and sponsorship policy provisions 7 West Media. I have declared a direct financial interest, and so therefore I'm going to ask the Deputy Lord Mayor to occupy the chair, please.
So I'll get a mover for the recommendation in the first instance. I'm happy to move that. I'll get a seconder. Councillor Leeser, thank you. I don't wish to speak. Councillor Bain, I understand you had a couple of questions on this one.
I did. Thank you very much. And I'm assuming they'll be included in the minutes as well. I just, can I just clarify? So I can see that 7 West Media have asked for waiver of fees, but I can see we're already advertising that those roads will be closed. So they knew when they submitted their application that there would be charges for those roads. Is that correct?
CEO.
Thank you. My discussions have been that there was an expectation, obviously, of certain fees, and the request is for consideration of all or partial. So that's why the paper provides some options. But yes, they would be well aware that closing roads has a cost associated with it.
And can I also just clarify, so I asked the question, what is our modelling on the value of the additional marketing and PR? And you've given me the modelling that someone from 7 West Media did, which was essentially about $27,000. So I just wondered, are we doing any modelling, or is this just all too rushed for us to actually consider it in detail?
Thank you, Councillor Bain. CEO.
Thank you, Councillor, and through the Deputy Lord Mayor. We did actually receive 2 submissions on the 22nd of March, so we appreciate this hasn't had a long time in gestation, which is actually the reason why we reached out to Kate Molinari from 7 West Media to give us her views on the value of the arrangements.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Councillor Gordon. Sorry, I'll seek anyone speaking for the motion as it appears, or recommendation as it appears on page 3.
Question.
Anyone, questions? Yes.
So just to clarify, that the proposal is to close that portion of Governor's Ave for the 11-day period.
CEO.
My understanding is yes, although we do actually have our acting events manager in the room who could probably give us more specific information.
Thank you, CEO. Happy to seek that advice. Thanks.
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, that is correct. That will be closed. There still will be access to Terrace Road.
And do we have clarity on how many vehicular movements are on that street?
Maybe a question for take on notice?
I think if we may, through the Deputy Lord Mayor, take that on notice. There is, as the acting manager has advised, still access. It's a small portion that takes you to the car park. It can be accessed via Victoria Street at Victoria Avenue. So it is access to the concert hall will still be available, as will our 2 car parks. And could I just ask the acting manager to elaborate further?
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, there's 4 known activations on the site map on the road.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Leeser. Thank you.
Thank you, DLM. The question really is, there's something going on now on that street. What is it? It's already closed. So is this part of this?
CEO.
Yes, there's a period of bumping in and bumping out.
So speaker's question.
Was that included in the 11 days?
Seeger?
If I could ask the manager, acting manager, to respond, please.
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, that's correct. That's included in the 11 days of hire.
Councillor Gordon?
And just for completeness, did we not previously consider an urgent item of business from 7 West regarding the closure of Wellington Street for the Telethon Family Day or similar?
Can't recall the specific event, but the applicant seems familiar. CEO?
I actually don't recall specifically. I do recall that that was I do, it possibly was, yes. I'm not sure the point.
Just wondering the quantum that we've funded the applicant in the last financial year.
And so can we take that on notice? I'm not certain that the city actually did fund anything on that. I think there was some road closures funded by state government, if I have that correct, but if I could verify that.
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, I'm aware that there is no sponsorship that was given to the telethon event last year, but not to the fees and charges, if they got a fee waiver or anything else apart from that.
Thank you. Seeking questions, Councillor Leeser? Yes.
Just one further one of clarity. So in the decision implications it says, the decision to offer support as described in the report is contrary to the provisions of our council sponsorship and grants policy. And they were already doing it. And so they've come to us, so we've now got to choose from these 4 options. And what if we choose option 4? There's no what happens next if we choose option 4?
Thank you, Councillor Leeser. My reading of that is nothing happens. But CEO?
Correct. So that's why that option exists. It is fair to suggest that previously the organisation had been working on Elizabeth Quay, and as the planning has been unfolding at the time of the matter actually coming to council, it was not finalised. So I think it's fair to say the cost of hire and fee and road closures possibly was higher than they had actually budgeted for. Previously they had worked in EQ, I think, for a smaller amount of, or smaller contribution. I think if I could just add that ultimately in our event strategy we're looking to showcase our city, we're looking to showcase the locations that can be used for things other than our Christmas events and so on. So actually using the city as a place where people can have different experiences, I think, is one of our ambitions, as is also demonstrating, I think, to a broader community and public that we are good to work with, that we're prepared to stretch some boundaries to give experiences and opportunities and to share those with community.
Thank you, CEO. I'll now seek speakers for the recommendation. Councillor Bain.
I'm sorry, I just had one
Question?
more question.
Sure.
I asked a question about road closure policies because I was wondering if I was a community group in East Perth and I came to the council at the last minute and asked for a road closure, whether I would be as accommodated as easily as this applicant is being accommodated, and if we had some guidelines or policy around that to ensure that we've got a level playing field in the community. That was my reason for asking that question, not whether or not we had obstruction permits. So do we have any policies that address that to create a level playing field when the community comes to us for road closures, or do we need to address that internally with our policies?
Thanks, Councillor Bain. Well, my reading of that is that it already is a level playing field because it's the same policy that applies, and it's the council's prerogative to apply it whether or not we determine, as we are now. But to the other part of your question, on road closures specifically,
the policy is that the council determines.
The council's prerogative is always to determine, but seek the view of the CEO on that one.
That's not a policy.
So it's fair to say that requests that come through that involve road closures are all considered on their merits. So it's not given a weighting based on it being, if for instance a community group wanted to activate an area and the justification existed and it was within the guidelines, and also noting we have usually main roads involvement and other external parties, they would be given the same consideration. And again, it comes back to the activation.
Thank you, CEO. So I'll now seek speakers for the recommendation as moved. Speakers against? So, for? Councillor Bevan.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I think we need to see the big picture here and invest in our city. I get asked so many times, what are we going to do about the empty shops? How do we fill the empty shops? And I think by having support for business houses and having support for tenants and for tenants to re-establish themselves in the city, this is what we need to do. And it's by having these investments in the city by businesses that we can help fill the empty shops, and we can help the businesses that are operating in the city. So I encourage the councillors to support business houses and revitalise the city of Perth through promoting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Speakers against? Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I will regrettably speak against this item. Just in terms of it being an activation, I thoroughly have to question the use of the term activation. I find it to be a really passive use of space to put, sounding too mean now, four large pieces of mining equipment on a well-utilised piece of road. And certainly if it was just for a weekend, I would welcome it. If it was not closing road, I would welcome it. But we're closing a road which is some distance from the substantive exhibition, in the hopes that people are going to walk across there and see it. I don't see the connectivity. It's previously been at Langley Park. It's previously been at Elizabeth Quay. It's surprising to see a truck in those spaces, a mining truck in those spaces. It's not so surprising to see a mining truck on a road, perhaps if you're trying to get to the car park, and it's our largest, one of our largest income generating car parks, and we're going to cause issues not only for the car park users, but the residents on the other side of the car park that are now going to have all this traffic detouring there. So I'd come here thinking that, perhaps there was an alternative motion to be put to fund them, to put it somewhere more appropriate on Langley Park, in Supreme Court Gardens. I understand now that it is too late to do that. And keeping in mind that they have previously come to us at the last minute, I believe, for a waiver of fees. I think we can be good to deal with, but we don't have to be accommodating of all matters at the last minute. So unfortunately, I'll be voting against.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Bevan, can you just hold your mic, thanks? The speakers for the motion, Councillor Fleeton, thank you.
I'm shocked, Deputy Lord Mayor, that this debate has gone on for so long, and I'm going to add to it. There's a car park right next door, so I'm speaking in favour of it. The people that would come to see these bits of machinery would park in our car park, pay us money to do so. There's also a reason why a haul pack wouldn't drive onto Elizabeth Quay. It's probably because it would crush the concrete sitting underneath it. Okay. What the CEO said was entirely correct in terms of being open and easy to deal with. What I would like to see, though, is our policies and framework being equitable across the board. This is in contrary to the policy, which is why the CEO's brought it. Great. I would like to see more of these things brought to us going, an idea has been presented to us, it requires us to do something different, let's give it a go. But in this, I think we should just let it go.
Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. Speakers against? Councillor Bain.
Thank you, Councillor Gobbett. I'm speaking against it, not because I don't think the project is of merit or what they're doing is of merit. I think I'm speaking against it because I just don't think it's best practice governance to give a commercial company a whole lot of fee waivers for closing roads in areas that might, cause traffic chaos. But chaos is probably a heavy word, but may cause some serious traffic disruption. I appreciate the fact that we do
Sorry to
want to.
interrupt, Councillor Bain. Members are to be in their seats during debate. Thank you, Councillor Fleeton. Councillor Bain, apologies. Please continue.
That's okay. I appreciate what you say, CEO, and I totally understand. It's important for us to embrace activation and activity in the city, and to where we can give fee waivers to have great events come to life. For me, this just seems just something just seems a bit off about it. So I'm voting against it.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Leeser, you're the last on the list. Thank you.
Thank you. I haven't spoken yet, DLM. Can I foreshadow option 2 if this option 1 fails?
You can indeed. Thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion, though?
I actually think that I actually concur with what Councillor Bevan said. I think that we're a city of this kind of thing is meant for us, and it's not. I don't think that the traffic chaos is a big enough reason not to do it. Harsh word, chaos. I also think that I think it's a good location. I think Langley Park needs to rest after the concert that was there. The grouse needs a big rest before you drive big machinery over it. So I actually don't mind this location. So actually I'm happy to support option 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leeser. I don't wish to close, so I'll put the motion then and request all those voting in favour, please. 1, Councillor Leeser, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Fleeton, Councillor Bevan. Those against, Councillor Gordon and Councillor Bain declare it carried 4-2. Thank you.
It's an absolute majority.
Absolute majority.
So we go to the foreshadowed.
Pending advice from governors. Bear with me. Thank you, Governance. So it did require, as you quite rightly pointed out, the absolute majority. So as Councillor Leeser has foreshadowed option 2, I'll take you as the mover of option 2 as contained in the report. I'm happy to second that. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Leeser?
Sorry, it's the same reasons as before.
Thank you. I don't wish to speak as seconder. Anyone speaking for the option 2? Councillor Gordon?
I mean, I will support Councillor Leeser's motion. I would love a carve up that doesn't involve us giving them funding to put it on Governor's Ave, but I think in the interests of being a good working party and getting to a resolution this evening, I thank Councillor Leeser for having the foresight to move the alternate.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Anyone speaking against? No. Councillor Leeser, did you wish to close? No. I'll put the motion then. Those in favour? That is Councillor Leeser, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Fleeton, Councillor Gordon, Councillor Bevan. Those against? Councillor Bain, declare it carried. Thank you. And can we invite the Lord Mayor back in?
Thanks, DLM. Item, where are we up to? 15.5. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. 15.5 is the request for support for FIFA Fan Festival in Forest Place, Tourism, Western Australia. Councillor Bain is not required to leave us. Is that correct?
Impartiality, it's a statutory authority.
Yes, that's what I was informed from our friends in governance today. Yeah. Lovely to have you staying around. Would anyone like to
Lord
move
Mayor,
the...
sorry, before you get into this, do we know what happened to Councillor Angie?
She was last seen walking.
I'm going to carefully consider my response here, Councillor Leeser. No, we don't. Actually, sorry, I did receive a message, but I didn't quite understand it. I think Councillor Angie, so these two items, Councillor Angie would not have been present for because of interest that had been declared. So she left at the correct time and would have left for the last one and this one, but missed that there was one in between that she would have been eligible to be in the chamber for. However, by that stage had gone and therefore has not returned. So that's what happened.
I'll move 15.5, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Seconded.
Thanks for following along, Councillor Fleet. You've had a strong night. So have you, Deputy Lord Mayor. You've been good players. Now, anything from you, Councillor Fleet? Okay. Anything from you, Deputy
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favour or against? I'll just add my voice to this. Look, we're a big event city. We've supported other events in this way. I think this is entirely in keeping with who we want to be, who we want to support, what we want to show off in our city and how we want to celebrate great events coming to our city. And I think this is an entirely reasonable way in keeping with our philosophy, thus expressed in the 2.5 years that we've been in this chamber and around the table together. And therefore I am supporting the officer recommendation. Anyone else for or against?
Just a question, if I may. The letter received from Tourism WA contemplates additional ways of activating the city and just whether they've been addressed or responded to separately.
Could I invite the acting manager of events to answer that?
Through the Lord Mayor, the FIFA World Cup Organising Committee, they are very strict on commercial or additional flags, posters, any marketing material as part of their arrangement. So we have a couple of options that the Minister will address the city's contribution in his speech, although we don't have any control over that.
I was talking specifically, there's some dot points in the letter on the last page, I think, of our agenda of other ideas. I don't think they're addressed by this agenda item, but if they're addressed separately through the relationship with TWA.
Through the Lord Mayor, yes, we can address those, but we will come back to you or defer on that one. Thank you.
I'll just add that obviously we will look for every opportunity we can to celebrate. I'm looking forward to the crowd gathering in Forest Place, and this is a really significant event. I've got some understanding of this space. The FIFA Women's World Cup, albeit we are disappointed that the Matildas are not scheduled to play here. We understand that. That's the way these things go. We get it. Denmark is significant for Western Australia and for Perth in particular to have Denmark. That's a good result. And I think we all know of our support for, in particular, the women's game in this chamber. One of the best events we've had was the granting of the keys of the city of Perth to Sam Kerr, the Matildas captain, and I'm very pleased that we did that, and I'm very pleased that we are moving towards where we are moving to now. Is there anything else, Councillor Fleeton? Beautifully done, Councillor Fleeton. All those in favour? Yeah, that would have been a funny one. That is unanimous, Councillor. I better read the names out because there's two missing. Councillor Leeser, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Bain, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Gordon, Councillor Fleeton. If you had to give the votes tonight, CEO, who would you give them to? Deputy Lord Mayor or Councillor Fleeton? I think they both had strong nights.
Need everyone the same.
Thank you. Yes, so I need those. So just a reminder before we close, the notice of revocation motions. We need any EMs that supported that one, which was for the technology strategy. That's 15.3. 18.2 was Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Fleet and Councillor Bevan. So there's two of those. If you could sign, I didn't read the names for that one, did I? Any. All right, Councillor Fleet, and there's no further business, and I now declare the ordinary council meeting closed at 6:52 p.m. Thank you, my friends. It's a privilege to serve.